Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. The Caretaker has been told by charities that he must not dump plans to accept a new UN Constitution on Human Rights into Scottish law. They're saying that it must go through, it must be accepted, and it must be part of any kind of new framework going forward. And there may be problems with this because these are human rights relating to food, clothing and housing, as well as other things. But it could be problematic if it becomes a human rights issue and it's in law, because breach of human rights carries very, very substantial penalties. And should a government such as the SNP, which is bankrupt both morally and fiscally, fail to meet these human rights levels, then somebody ultimately must pay the price, and it can be unlimited fines and unlimited time in prison. They would be signing up to a cheque that their arse cannot cash, and that is the problem they have. And so they are dithering massively to see whether they can afford or not to accept these new rules, these new laws, and they are very, very inclined to say no. However, all the charities and all the aid workers and things like that say no, you must. And who's going to pay for it? It's a bugger, isn't it? It's a bugger when you screwed up your economy so badly you can't even afford to accept new laws because the consequences would be dire. Let's take a look. So Swinney warned by charities not to dump human rights bill on access to housing and food. And it is a problem because if it does go in and people have a right to housing and a right to food, then it will be ultimately the government that must supply them, even if it hasn't got any. There aren't enough houses in Scotland now to house everyone. Anyone who comes will be entitled to somewhere to live. Where? And of course, if they don't, then they can sue the government. And then somebody in the government, the person responsible for, say, housing, would have to be put up in front of a court for breach of human rights. Is this a reason why they don't want to sign this into law? Who knows? Anyway, third sector organisations are concerned that the SNP government has gone soft on incorporating 4 UN treaties into Scots law. Now, I've got to say as well, the United States rejected these things, bang, out of hand. Does not, no way. They're going, no. And they just said, no, and that's it. Move on. Nothing to see here. It's only the soft touch countries that are bringing it in. No one in Africa has done it, for example. They're looking basically at Europe. Why? Oh, it's where the new colonials, isn't it? Europe about to be colonised by invaders. And so they want to make sure it's easy for the invaders to colonise. Let's create these laws. Let's do this. Swinney has been urged not to backslide on human rights bill access to housing and food. Over 100 groups have joined forces amid fears a cost of living crisis law could be junked by his government. And of course it should be. You cannot tie up future governments just because of your virtue signalling. Reverse it, get rid of it, do your own thing, but don't tie yourself up into international law over it. The SNP's Holyrood manifesto committed the party to incorporating 4 UN treaties into Scots law. One of them is on economic, social and cultural rights, which sets out a right to adequate food, housing and clothing. Supporters believe this suite of rights could help people in light of the housing and homelessness emergency declared by the councils. So they've declared this homelessness emergency because they've got nowhere to put them. Now all of a sudden they're saying, oh, but if it's enshrined as a human right and we have nowhere to put them, then now we can be taken to court for breaching human rights. Unlimited fine, unlimited time in prison. Is that what you want? Other treaties focus on eliminating discrimination against women and racial prejudice. Well, we've already got them in law anyway. We don't need them. As well as protecting people with disabilities. Again, the Equalities Act 2010 covers all of that. First Minuscule Humza Yousaf promised a human rights bill in his first year, and government have consulted on how it would work, and now, of course, it's not going to happen. Experts are worried the bill will either be shelved or ditched in its entirety, and of course it's going to be ditched. Now that they've looked at it, they've realised that they really don't want to go to prison. In a letter to the new First Minister, the groups have demanded ministers push ahead. Well, they can demand all they like, but no one is going to sign their own death warrant, are they? They wrote, children across Scotland are going hungry as families are pulled deeper into poverty, caused, of course, by the SNP. More households than ever are stuck in temporary accommodation. Again, a problem caused by the SNP. And disabled and older people are being refused the social care support that they desperately need. Again, it's the SNP's problem. They caused it. These are just some of the human rights emergencies being experienced, of course, by people in Scotland today. We look forward to seeing this bill introduced to Parliament imminently and to seek your assurances that it will not be delayed. Delayed? No, I think it's absolutely going to be binned. They can't do it. They just cannot do it. Strengthening our NHS, tackling the housing emergency, building more empowered and powerful communities, improving social care and stemming the rise of poverty. The bill can help to achieve more than just Scotland we all want to see. Yeah, but the bill has so many problems with it and nobody wants to take ownership of it. Why would anyone want this? Why would anyone risk unlimited fines and unlimited prison sentences for something that is already enshrined in British law anyway, under the Equality Act? It's weird, isn't it? There's some people who've signed it, and I'll just go up. I won't stop. You can pause if you want to see, but I don't suppose anyone is going to be too interested. But there you go. Like I say, you can pause it if you want. I'm not reading through them. Oh, blimey, how many are there? 140 groups, they said, wasn't it? There we go. Anyway, Mary Snowdon of the Human Rights Consortium Scotland said, for many years, many of us have given massive time and resources to ensuring international rights are incorporated into law. Well, the fact is, they are. We have the European Convention on Human Rights. That's there. That's enough. You don't need the UN. The UN are a dangerous organisation anyway. They're extremist. They're going very, very left-wing. And they're very anti-white. They're becoming a very racist organisation. And even the UN are considering... Sorry, even the US are considering distancing themselves from the UN. They're saying it's just not working. It's not fit for purpose. And it's very expensive for them. And so they don't need it. I can't say as I blame them. And if the Americans go, I think the rest of Europe should as well. And let the UN exist and pay for itself. Be out of New York like that, wouldn't it? Anyway, we'll stop there, round off and come up. See, this is the problem Swinny's got. Imagine, for example, that they did go, oh yes, look at us, we're virtuous. And they put this law into Scottish law and said, oh, now we obey this UN mandate on human rights and all that. And then someone comes and says, but I'm not being housed and I'm hungry, I haven't got access to food. You're breaching my human rights, let me take you to court. And Swinney turns up in court, and he'll have to because he's the head of government. So Swinney turns up in court, agrees that they haven't housed and fed this person. The judge finds against him and gives him a £10,000 fine and 5 months in prison. Who would want to be First Minister next? It's ridiculous, isn't it? Just don't sign the law in. It's already covered. All the discrimination stuff's already covered. You've got the 2010 Equality Act, and nobody needs to go to prison for that. Well, they can, but no government will ever allow that to happen. But you know that's there. You don't need new laws. You don't need to sign in stuff. I suppose the thing is, if they get it in there, UN, it's a law that isn't English, and that's how they work. So they're willing to destroy their own country just simply so they've got something that isn't English. You know, these people are idiots, aren't they? Anyway, I shall stop. Thank you very much for watching. Definitely hit the subscribe button. We're getting pushed down again, you know. I'd mentioned this yesterday. YouTube really has a downer on this channel at the moment, and it keeps unsubscribing people. Yeah, do check you're still subscribed. If you are yet to subscribe, today's the date to hit that button. We're about to get over another little 100 lump, which is always a nice one as we work on onwards and upwards to 16,000. Let's see if we can get there by the end of the month. Anyway, thank you very much. Take care. Speak soon. Bye.